We're talking with Brian Cosson, ADWR's Flood Warning Coordinator. Brian, the role of the Arizona Department of Water Resources in the state's flood warning system appears to be largely as a coordinator for local and federal agencies. What exactly does that mean?
Well, yes, hi, Doug. Yes, the ADWR's role as more of a coordinator really stems from the Arizona Revised Statute, Title 45-1502, which gives the authority of the Director of Water Resources to coordinate with the federal government and local entities and to provide technical assistance with regards to flood warning. ADWR is not a first responder type agency for flood warning, but was a local cooperator for United States Army Corps of Engineers flood warning grant in the mid-90s that expanded the network of gauges around the state, including the mountaintop repeaters. Currently, ADWR owns and operates 8 mountaintop repeaters, but there are over 60 in the state. The others are owned by the counties. So ADWR is the lead state agency for flood warning activities, but we are a partner with the counties who have a much more involved and active role with their own systems. So ADWR helps facilitate and coordinate general activities, but the heavy lifting is certainly done at the local level.
I see. We're talking about a flood warning system, but wildfire seems to be almost as big a concern for flood warning systems as heavy rains and raging washes. Why is that so?
Well, the most devastating wildland fires typically occur in late spring and early summer in Arizona and is followed by our monsoon season. After a wildfire, the burned ground where vegetation has burned away cannot easily absorb the precipitation, which increases the risk of flooding and mud flows for at least several years, if not longer, as the burn area recovers. So certainly properties located downstream of these burn areas are most at risk. And typically during the large wildland fire event, the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, which is DEMA, takes the lead on mitigation activities, and ADWR is a support agency. So over the past dozen years or so, ADWR has provided mitigation support for fires such as the Nuttall, the Brins, the Schultz, the Wallow, the Monument, the Horseshoe 2, and the Murphy Complex fire. And for these fires, they originated and were primarily located within the National Forest Service lands. So the burn area emergency response team, the BEAR teams, would also look for ways to mitigate the potential loss of life after the wildland fire has been extinguished. And they often will look at non-structural solutions like installing rain gauges and precipitation gauges as a way to as one of the ways to mitigate that risk.
Well, we can only hope that we don't have conflagrations like those this year. Arizona seems to have discovered the need for a truly effective flood warning system only recently, 1993 to be specific. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in 93 and how our commitment to improving on flood warning changed then?
Yes. So in 1993, for those of us who actually were living in Arizona at that time, and I was one of them, I was a grad student at Arizona State University, and I witnessed the Tempe Bridge under construction being destroyed by flooding along the Salt River, and it really changed my outlook on flooding in Arizona. And I was so in '93 it was a statewide event. We all hear about the Great Midwest Floods of 1993. Well, in Arizona we were very heavily impacted at that time. So much so that the governor established a task force, and out of that task force they recommended a statewide need for improved communication and the expansion of the flood warning systems. At that time, there were only a few counties that had flood warning systems, Maricopa and Pima County, to name the primary two. There was another system along Oak Creek Canyon in Yavapai. They were not communicating to each other, and certainly there were other areas in the state that were impacted that there was no information related to flood warning available. Shortly after that, ADWR was determined to be the state agency, and to be the local cooperator for a federal grant by the Corps of Engineers. And the goal of that grant was to expand the number of gauges out in the field, increase the number of mountaintop repeaters, to establish a communication hub. At that time, it was located at the Salt River Project. Today, it's primarily at ADWR, and it helped then expand the system, and as a result of that, other counties like Mojave, Navajo, Santa Cruz, Greenlee County now have their own flood warning systems in place.
I see. The key to a good flood warning system is speed, isn't it? Getting accurate information quickly about rainfall amounts and stream flows to the National Weather Service and other data users. Is that a fair assessment of a good flood warning system?
Certainly speed is very important, but certainly so is accuracy. So the flood warning systems that are most commonly used in Arizona are what we refer to as alert systems. And ALERT is an acronym for Automated Local Evaluation in Real Time. And this technology uses telemetry. So, for example, a precipitation gauge out in the field sends a signal when the tipping bucket tips based on a percentage or amount of rainfall. Typically, they're set at 1 millimeter. And then that tip, or that repeater, that rain gauge sends a signal to a mountaintop repeater, which then transmits that to the local government base station, where it can be reviewed and responded. This same information is also sent to the National Weather Service offices in Flagstaff, in Phoenix, and also in Tucson. And in Mojave County, they're also send their information to the Las Vegas National Weather Service office, because the Vegas office has territory in northwestern Arizona. So yes, speed is very important, and this is the current system in place where it's almost in real time. And so as a result of everything works well, the emergency managers at the local level, the National Weather Service, they can make decisions quickly. We'll have the information available to make decisions quickly.
I see. Well, this is the official kickoff of the 2016 monsoon season, and so we'll see how seriously our gear gets tested. Brian, I really appreciate you taking time this morning to talk to us.
Thank you, Doug.
All right.
Have a good day.
You too.